things sort of going downhill.
All right, time for some eating of a sandwich. Not the best sandwich, but when I can't decide what to eat, I'll get something really basic and simple. So I don't... Well, my food arrived right as my Air No Power arrived. I need... Haha. Hey!
Eat your food.
I learned from Mr. Clinton. Mr. Clinton taught me how to make sure that nobody ever steals my food. How'd you get a U8900? High voltage. I don't 178 Green Street. I don't think I looked at that. I looked at 127, which was over $40,000 and already rented to somebody. My water bottle is empty. But I have orange juice. Yeah, that 127 Green Street space there, that's a little out of my budget. Luckily, Paul agreed to help me out with renting the space with a low-interest loan.
What? What? Might reach what? Conveniently, your mouth was full.
No, it's not. Fajita tacos. I haven't tried much. I haven't been to, I haven't been to Texas. I should go to Texas sometime. Would like to visit Texas at some point. It's kind of dry. I have oranges. My water bottle's empty. Getting to the water requires opening the fridge door. Opening the fridge door requires interrupting the shipping guy and also asking him to move out of the way because the store is not big enough for him to be able to do his job without disrupting where the fridge is. Which is one in 1,000 reasons I'd like to leave this shithole behind for a better store. Kitty.
Cat?
Black.
Larry?
I miss my berry cat. I love my berry cat. Okay. Someone said if you fire Paul in Hi-Hi, you could afford the $40,000 rent. Or just Paul. I read Paul into it. It's Hi-Hi.
Hi-Hi.
Yeah, Hi-Hi.
They got some shit.
I read Hi-Hi into it.
Is that a Freudian slip or something?
That's quite a salary you all assume Hi-Hi has. I still need to get him in here to finish editing that Best Buy video.
Hi-Hi's getting $40,000 a month.
Can you edit video like him, Paul? Can you block out faces with his level of accuracy? Hey everybody, how's it going? Let's get started working on another MacBook. Here in my pile of random MacBook boards with random problems, we have an A1466 that's not turning on. Let's open up this A1466 that's not turning on and see what's wrong with it. Alright. I wish I got to cherry pick the easy U8900s like Paul.
I was cue picking.
Cube picking?
Cue picking.
Okay, we have opened the MacBook Air that has no power. We have seen two signs that make me ridiculously sad. Alright, so check this out. Firstly, the Wi-Fi wires are not properly placed. But that's not what makes me sad. What makes me sad is seeing that the screw for the heatsink is gone. And also that this heatsink, the whole point is the heatsink is supposed to be under the wires, not over the wires. Because if the heatsink is over the wires, you're eventually going to put the screw through the wires for the Wi-Fi, and then you won't get good Wi-Fi. So, this little MacBook has been abused. And we should treat it like any abuse victim.
I'll one-up you.
Oh my god. What the? Who did this?
Can you mute for a second?
Alright, so this is what Paul got in the queue. So Paul, is that a long screw or a short screw?
That's the right screw. They used the wrong screwdriver to change their thermal paste.
Oh my god.
They called it all up.
Have fun. Alright, so back to the little Air. This little MacBook Air here is an abuse victim. And we should treat it. It's okay, little MacBook. You're safe now. Nobody will ever hurt you here, little MacBook. It's okay, little MacBook. We're going to make you better. I'm sorry, little MacBook. I'm so sorry for what they did to you. But we're going to make it better here. Okay. It's taking 200 milliamps, 170 to 200 milliamps, and it's always important to see how much amperage the thing's taking because that is going to give us an idea what's wrong. Typically 170 or 200 milliamps is going to be a sign of a short to ground on PPBush D3 hot or ALSA's power good missing. However, it is power cycling from 33 milliamps up until 200, which I've honestly never seen before. So let's take this out of the machine and see what's going on with it. We're going to turn the power off. We're going to take our screwdriver, open this thing up, and see what's going on. Ah, the wrong screws are in the wrong holes. Who did this to you? Oh. No. No. No.
If you run ZXW in Chinese on Chinese servers, the microphone works. So I turned it off and I just had it working off of like the in settings T, I think. You can set it to
No.
choose server language.
Thank you very much. AOC is uneducated. Yeah, I guess I'll leave you guys to read things like that.
Which one is the Chinese one?
What the fuck did you do? What is this shit? What the fuck is this? Why is this sticking up from a pad? This is not how you solder. What is this? What is that? 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 What? It's not fair. I wanted to cherry pick an easy error. Fucking prick. All right. Okay. So let's go over a couple of things here. What? Oh, that's really not fair. You have a micro pencil? Oh, don't touch it with your hands. He almost gave me his the micro pencil with his fingers.
Oh.
Oh my god. No, it's in like the contact Fresh Step. Yeah.
What?
And all his replies are coming in separately.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have to buy you another one.
I know how to stop the buzzing sound.
I hate the beeping.
I think I know how to change it.
How do you change it?
There's a settings. Well, I can look it up.
Awesome. All right, so let me just show you how you should solder if you wanted to solder a probe point. So watch this. Let's say that I was soldering on this pad. See that? Or this. That? See those two? You see how that differs from this? See how this is happy? Looks like a little happy little landmine. This, I don't know what the hell this is. But this is what happens when you don't have enough genuine Amtech flux. Available at store.rossmangroup.com. Don't delay. Check out store.rossmangroup.com to get some authentic NC559 V2TF flux today. So watch what happens when I put some nice, genuine, authentic Amtech flux. Watch this. And we heat. See? That's what happens when you solder without flux. So now we have to figure out what this is supposed to look like. So I'm going to take a donor. And I'm going to have a donor in for that area, and we're going to see what that looks like. All right. So there's supposed to be pads over here. So the first thing we're going to do is see if we can bring back those pads. This is an 820-00165 board if you'd like to follow along. This is one of those things, right? You know, there's a lot of people that'll say there's a guy on eBay that does this for $100. There's a guy on eBay, and he does it for $100. Jessa Jones's version of this is that she'll be told there's a person on eBay that does the audio IC for $30. Well, do you want to get back a phone, or do you want to get back a brick? It's on you. Okay, so first thing to do here is let's find where this stuff goes. So this line is going to go to the second pin. I'll use an X-Acto because it's easier to scrape with.
My friend's trying to come up with an inventory system.
I think that's awesome. I was overhearing that conversation, Paul. That would be great. I sent over all the information that dude wanted, by the way, for the new space, so let's see if we get it. I'd like nothing more than to start breaking ground on construction immediately tomorrow. I've always wanted to use a drill.
No, you are not constructing anything. No.
I want to do construction, Paul.
No.
Why can't I do construction?
You are not constructing.
I would like to build things.
No. As long as I'm there. As long as I am there, I will let you wield a hammer. I will let you use a drill. Supervise.
I've dropped 5,000 frames. I'm continuing to drop them. Let's see, is this one of those things where if I lower the bit rate to like 1 megabit it'll work, or is this something where Time Warner is just saying no stream for you today? Let's see, I lowered you to 2 megabit per second and you're still freezing. Alright, we're just going to file back and forth. Here we go. We've lowered our stream to 2 megabit per second.
No matter what inventory system you come up with, you're always going to have that one guy that won't log into Magento and take out the chips that he took out.
You should, but still, if we were going for a perfect system, that's a little too much.
Logging in.
It's inconvenient, especially with a CAPTCHA. Like, do you really want to deal with a system, Paul, where every single time you have to use a chip, you have to figure out how many of these have crosswalks versus traffic lights in them? Nobody wants to do that.
Only asked me for CAPTCHA once. It has never asked me again. Do you keep running Zcoin or something?
Maybe. Alright, so we lowered the stream to 2 megabit per second, so it's going to look like junk. But at least now it actually works. 5,000 drop frames a few minutes into this. Spectrum is disgusting.
Drop frame counter?
No, I got to get Nitrocaster's drop frame counter back. Okay, let's reconstruct this. Now we're going to just move all those resistors over. So there's... Now, one of the resistors I have to put there you're going to see has the pad missing. However, according to the schematic and board view diagram, this actually, the bottom pin on this resistor goes to the same place as the bottom pin of the capacitor next to it. So we're just going to link them together like that. They'll both be touching one another. But that's totally fine. They're designed to touch each other. They want to touch each other. Now we're just going to make sure that they are fused together. Just a little bit of patience. Oh God. Now, before we even bother replacing this questionable TPS 51980, let's just see if it works. Never know. How pretty this is. Okay. Got the power supply turned on. I'm going to plug it in, see how many amps it uses, and see if it gives us a fan spin. So it looks like that still does the exact same thing it was doing before. Yeah, about 400 milliamps and then nothing, and then 400 milliamps and then nothing. I'm going to replace that chip since I imagine that it had corrosion on it. It is something that I would consider questionable. Like anything on this thing, honestly, after whatever jackass touched it. Did touch it? Wait a second. Yeah, anyway, after whatever the hell happened to it. So I'm going to replace that, and then after that we'll go on to troubleshooting it as I would another normal board. Where do you put your dead chips, Paul? Is that where they belong? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Oh, whoopsie, I removed resistors. I'm no better than the person who first worked on this board. Whoops, my bad, bro. I am sorry. I didn't mean it. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck woodchuck could chuck wood? A chuck could chuck wood. How much would a woodchuck chuck wood chuck wood? How much would a woodchuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much would a woodchuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck? A woodchuck should chuck wood. Oh, not again. I'm really being mean to that little resistor. I don't know why. I don't mean to be mean, but I am. It's not my fault. I was just born that way. Anybody here watch The Honeymooners? Remember when Ralph Cramden was recording an apology record? Back when you could record to a record? He was recording an apology record to Alice. because he would be mean to Alice's mom. And then he records the draft and he loses his mind, and then he does another copy that's the sweet one. But Alice accidentally gets the draft. So your mom doesn't mean to be mean. You're just born that way. Oh, that was a fun show. Fun times. How much wood you chuck if you could chuck wood? Rapid cool. Always important to get some rapid cooling in. Did you see how much dust these crappy paper towels create? We have this high-end air filter, but then we use paper towels that are they're engineered and created with dust, I think. And to dust they return when you use them.
Want to start buying lint-free? Lint-free is expensive.
Same thing. No fan spin, 20 to 500 milliamps and down again. What the fuck did they do to you, little MacBook? What the fuck did they do? Okay. Now that we've fixed the things that are obvious, we're going to go about this as if it were any other board that had not been raped by an idiot. So let's go over to the Power Rails page on the schematic. And we're going to look through it. So we're going to go through all these rails over here. Now, we have a green light on the charger, which means that PP3V42_G3 is present, so we don't have to go through that. So I'm going to check starting at the PP bus. And we're going to see if our PP bus is present or if it's moving up and down. We're going to take our multimeter probes. Otherwise. PP bus is present and stable. Let's check out PPV RTC G3 hot. Next. PPV RTC STD is present. Okay, next up, PP5VS5. 5 volts. Steady. Let's see if PP5VS4 is present and steady. Stop it. Yeah. My keyboard is hitting my fume extractor because my desk is so tiny. All right. And then it starts flickering my screen. PP5VS4 not present. All right, let's see if our enable is pulsing. It's no longer pulsing. Let's see what this goes to over here. This is a broken probe point. And we're not going to miss such an obvious, easy broken probe point.
That one wasn't easy.
There's no way in hell I'm missing such an obvious, easy, broken probe point.
Probe point lives matter.
Alright, so let's see what that probe point is for. I lost the bet. Here's your $2. What is the bet? There was a bet?
Just trying to compare the backlight of the iPad Pro to the regular backlight drivers and circuits. So is it similar or?
Let's see. So what does this go to?
So I was trying to see if there's
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck woodchuck could chuck? Would I chuck, could I chuck wood? Okay. Let's see what that looks like on a board that has not been violently beaten within an inch of its life. That's all going to this pin. So this goes to here, which goes to there. So that's probably just the point where I can measure everything else. That's probably not an important probe point. R7523. Let's see what the hell that's connected to. Alright, pin 2 goes to R7520. Pin 1 goes to PP5ES5. And pin 1 is not going to go to PP5ES5 because that's broken. So this is most likely feedback. Yeah, VFB. That's probably voltage feedback over here. So this is going to be necessary in order for the chip to know what it's actually creating. And if we don't get that, it's not going to create the voltage long term. And if it doesn't create the voltage long term, then it's not going to work. So I will drink my orange juice later. Damn straight. Don't you tell me what to do. But thank you for your $2. I'm busy working right now. There's no time for things like health, eating, drinking. We must fix the MacBook. And then we get to that. So one of the things I talked about in my document, and I highly suggest you read it down below. There's a lot of seriously educational material in there that's going to help you a lot. There's a beginner's guide to board repair. It's size 40 font. It's 72 font in some places. It's drawings. I have a picture of a carrot and an elephant, and and then I use it as an example of where the electricity is going. I tried to make this as kindergarten as I can. But one of the things that I talk about here is the concept of feedback. And one of the things is, long story short, and this is probably going to make electronics engineering professors puke and throw up because of how bad it is. Long story short, this chip is going to take 12 volts in and tell this transistor to make it switch on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. So you're going to get pulse of 12, pulse of nothing, pulse of 12, pulse of nothing, pulse of 12, more, pulse of nothing. The more pulses of 12 you get, the higher the voltage. So if I have 12 and then 0, and then 12 and then 0, and then 12, and then 0, and the amount of time for the 12s and the 0s is the same, I'm probably going to get around 6 volts. If I have a bunch of 12s and very few 0s, I'm probably going to get maybe 10 or 9 or something like that. And if there's a little bit of 12 and a lot of 0, then I'm probably going to get something closer to 1 volt, like CPU V-Core. So what this thing is doing over here is this transistor is going to turn on and off. It has 12 volts going into it. This chip is going to tell this transistor when to turn on and off. The pulses are going to go through this coil, and the coil is going to even it out. So rather than be 12, 0, 12, 0, 12, 0, obviously every component on the other side of that line is going to go, ow, 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 ow. You don't want to go, ow. You want to, if you want to move, you do, my head has been moved, versus, ow, and then nothing, and then, ow, and then nothing. So the inductor and these capacitors to ground over there is going to smooth that out so it's nice and even. But the thing is, the chip kind of wants to know what it's doing. It doesn't want to just be on autopilot, like, I'm going to create this many pulses and that's it. No, it wants to see the outcome. It's not just going to trust that if I turn on the cruise control that it's not going to crash into a light post. So it wants to see what it's doing. And that's what feedback is for. So you have this over here, and this is going to be going from the output, and then you have this set of resistors over here. You have a little voltage divider, and that's going to go to volt P5ES4RSD VFB voltage feedback, I'm guessing 1, which is on pin 9. And you have a 10 ohm resistor before that happens. Now the point that's broken is right here. Right here. Where PP5ES4 is going to go to this resistor so that it could feed back into the system. And if you don't have that, it's not going to see what it's doing. If it doesn't know what it's doing, it stops. So if you're driving a car and then some sort of thing falls on your windshield and you can't see anymore, what do? Stop. Then you look, oh, can I see? Okay, I can see, I can drive now. Oh, I can't see? Okay, stop. You know, and the board is continuously doing that. That's why you see it turn on, off, on, off, on, off, on, and then it just decides, fuck it, I'm done. I'm going to stay off because I don't know what this thing is doing. I'm not putting power in if I don't know what I'm doing. If I can't see the voltage I'm creating, I'm just not creating it anymore because I don't want to accidentally run into a light pole or something. So let's see what happens if we run a wire. We're going to run a jumper wire. And go ahead and turn this Mac into a PC, as the lobbyist would say. So let's see what we can do here. So all right. Now I don't trust this probe point because it looks like shit. So this is supposed to connect to where PP5ES4 is being created on the other side of the board. We're going to run a wire to the other side of the board and see if this works. And if this doesn't work, we're going to give it to Paul, Lena, our new board repair employee.
You said you don't do that.
I said we're going to give it to Paulina, our new board repair employee.
Oh, you hired a Pauline?
Paulina. We don't give boards like this to Paul anymore. That was mean and cruel and unusual. If we get this new space, we'll have enough room to have an entire Paul board department. Instead of there just being one person that works on all the boards that are miserable, we could have like 3 or 5 people that work on all the boards that are miserable. We could start a company that does nothing but specialize in doing miserable boards. No. We saw a really interesting space today. I'm not sure with Time Warner and Spectrum and packet loss and all that if that video is going to be up today or not. But I'm pretty excited about this space. We'll see. Hopefully the lease terms are not too janky. I'm not really sure how I feel about the idea of a personal guarantee for a commercial space. Yeah, like more and more landlords are asking for that. And the thing is, the landlords that don't ask for that are the ones that are asking for so much in rent it doesn't even matter, because if they get a couple of months of it, they'll be good for a... Like the landlords that want a $42,000 a month rent don't ask for personal deposit. I mean, personal guarantee or a guarantor. Got a degree in electrical engineering. That was way better description than any professor ever gave me. Well, we'll see. Let's see if my description allows the fan to spin. Or even the places that are affordable, like they're $10,000 or $11,000, but you want $10,000 or $11,000 for a box. Back from classes. Good evening, Lewis. Hello, Alex. How are you? And thank you for the $1. Thank you, the other guy, for your $1 as well. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this whole personal guarantor thing. And the only places that don't ask for that are the ones where they're asking for so much that they know that they don't really have any bargaining power. Anything that's even remotely fair are the areas where they want some sort of personal guarantor to the lease. And the issue there, you know, when people say, well, how do you say it's not fair? It's fair if it's a market price and blah, blah, blah. One of the ways you can tell is that most of those spaces remain empty. One of the things I was talking to you all about is I showed you some spaces that have remained empty for 7, 8 years. You know, there's a lot of space in New York City that never gets rented. And they say, well, it's market rate. That's what the market will bear. But it's not really what the market will bear because nobody actually pays it. You know, just because somebody walks up to you and says something is market price doesn't mean it is. And the thing is, you know, again, it's private property. If the landlord wants to sit on the space for his entire life, by all means do so. It's just, that's the reason that New York sucks. You know, the thing is, what I would really like to see is an honest-to-God free market response to the landlords doing this stuff, which is that just people realize, you know what, it's not worth spending $2,000 to $4,000 a month to live in a box so that I could be in an area where all the interesting places are now gone. And so I'm going to leave and go somewhere else. And then once that happens, some of these places that were holding out for the next Chase or Starbucks to rent their space may realize that that's never coming because there's no demand to open that up in a space that doesn't have the people, the population to handle it. And at that point, they'll realize that they wasted 5 or 10 years not renting their space out. But even what would really be fun for me, and I know this is kind of being a little mean, is to see the market value of all those places drop so that they can't even sell the space for close to what they paid for it. I know, it's mean, but if you're going to ruin the city by not renting out any of these spaces, so much wasted potential. Just so that you can get a couple of bucks. I'd like to see everybody just kind of protest and go, you know what? Okay, fine. We're gone. Screw that. That'll never happen. People love this overpriced dump too much.
Can I set up a horn, the air horn as a work whistle?
The air horn is a work whistle? I'm sad, Paul. I want to cry. I get pulses of 500 milliamps and then dead. I fix it? Why? Why would you want to work on this mess? Did you see what it looked like? We haven't even checked for shorts to ground yet. Maybe it's an easy... Never mind. Who am I kidding? Of course it's not a short to ground doing that. This makes no sense. You can just go for it. This is not an important video.
Are you sure?
Yeah, this is a shit video that's going nowhere.
Are you in a rabbit hole?
This is a very shit video.
Alright, well, what chairs,
A
everyone?
bunch. I could measure the diode mode reading to ground on every pin if I really cared about this. Like if I had a genuine... If this was... Like if this was proof that Miley Cyrus was reptilian or something, or you know some important shit was on here, I could do something like that for troubleshooting. But this ain't. This is some basic ass $200 board repair. And that's not worth it. Good night. Yeah, I didn't ask you to fuck this thing up before sending it to me. What was the original problem? Who the hell knows? It showed up with missing stuff and scraped stuff and... Yeah. Yeah, screw you. Screw you, customer. I'm done with this.